Hello everyone, let me know where you're watching from and kindly hit the subscribe button. The day my life changed forever started like any other, with spilled cereal, a missing shoe, and my daughter's backpack somehow ending up in the bathtub. I didn't know it then, but by nightfall, I'd find myself seated at a table worth more than my house, being introduced as the fiancé of one of the wealthiest women in the country. "Daddy, we're gonna be late again," 7-year-old Lily complained, her curls still unbrushed and pajama top half buttoned. "I know, sweetie. I know." I ran my hand through my disheveled hair, exhaustion coating my words like thick syrup. 3 years of solo parenting since Eliza's death had taught me many things, but mastering morning routines wasn't one of them. I'm James Carter, 34, widower, devoted father, and struggling restaurant manager at the Copper Pot, a mid-tier eatery in downtown Seattle that had seen better days. Rain tapped against our apartment windows as I hurried Lily through breakfast, brushed her hair while she brushed her teeth, and managed to get us both reasonably presentable. A daily miracle. My boss had been clear yesterday, another late arrival meant serious consequences. With bills piling up and Lily's school tuition due next week, I couldn't afford to lose this job. Not now. Not ever. "Ready for takeoff?" I asked, zipping Lily's raincoat as she giggled and made airplane arms. Our little morning ritual, one of the few consistent things in our chaotic life. I dropped Lily at school with seconds to spare, planted a kiss on her forehead, and sprinted toward the bus stop. That's when fate, with its peculiar sense of humor, intervened. A sleek black Bentley screeched to a halt beside me, splashing muddy water across my only decent pair of work pants. Perfect. The rear window hummed downward, revealing a woman I'd never seen before yet somehow recognized immediately. Alexandra Winters. Billionaire tech mogul. Philanthropist. The woman whose face graced magazine covers and whose name dominated business news. Her dark hair fell in perfect waves around shoulders draped in what I assumed was absurdly expensive fabric. "I'm so sorry about that," she said, her voice surprisingly warm. "Please, let me give you a ride to make up for it." I should have declined. Should have continued my dash for the bus. Should have maintained the natural order of things where billionaires and struggling single dads occupied entirely different universes. Instead, I got in. "You're headed to the Copper Pot, correct?" she asked as I settled into leather seats softer than my bed. The privacy partition was up, but I still lowered my voice. "How did you know that?" Her smile revealed nothing. "I make it my business to know things, Mr. Carter." My stomach tightened. "You know my name. I know many things about you. Your impressive culinary training at Le Cordon Bleu. Your brief but notable career as a sous chef at Maison before your wife's illness required you to take a more stable position. Your daughter, Lily. Your remarkable resilience in the face of significant personal loss." The car moved smoothly through morning traffic while my mind raced through possibilities. Was this some elaborate scam? A case of mistaken identity? "What do you want from me?" I finally managed. "Direct." "I appreciate that." She crossed her legs, revealing Louboutin heels that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "I have a proposition. I need a chef for a private dinner this evening. My usual caterer cancelled, and I've heard exceptional things about your cooking, your hidden talents that the Copper Pot fails to utilize." I almost laughed. "Ms. Winters, I manage the front of house. I haven't professionally cooked in 3 years. Yet you still prepare experimental dishes every Sunday. You still subscribe to culinary magazines. You still dream, Mr. Carter." My blood went cold. How could she possibly know about my Sunday cooking sessions? Those private moments where I pretended my life had taken a different turn. "One dinner," she continued. "I'll pay you $10,000, provide all ingredients to your specifications, and ensure you're home by 10 for your sitter." $10,000. I repeated, certain I'd misheard. "Consider it an investment. In your talent." Her eyes, a striking amber color I'd never seen before, held mine. Unless you'd prefer to be late to work again and face Mr. Donnelly's consequences. The car had stopped. We were outside the copper pot, still 10 minutes before my shift. How did she arrange that? How did she know about my boss's threat? Why me? I asked. Her smile shifted, revealing something vulnerable beneath her polished exterior. Let's just say I have my reasons. Do we have a deal? $10,000 would cover Lily's tuition, the overdue rent, and the medical bills still haunting my credit score. It would give us breathing room I hadn't experienced since Eliza's diagnosis. What exactly would I be cooking? I asked, already knowing I'd accept. A 5-course dinner for 3. My parents and myself. Nothing you can't handle. She handed me a card with an address embossed in gold. My staff will collect you at 5. Send any ingredient requirements to this number. As I stepped out of the car, she added, wear something nice, James. First impressions matter. I stood on the sidewalk watching the Bentley disappear into traffic, unaware that Alexandra Winters had just told me her first lie. Dinner wasn't for 3. And my role would extend far beyond cooking. By nightfall, I'd find myself seated at the head of a table alongside Seattle's elite, wearing a borrowed suit worth more than my car, as Alexandra casually introduced me to her stunned parents as the man I'm going to marry. The question is, why would one of the world's most powerful women need to pretend a stranger was her fiancé? And why, of all people, did she choose me? Before I continue, make sure you hit the subscribe button. The rest of my workday passed in a blur. I moved through my manager duties mechanically, seating guests, resolving a kitchen dispute, placating an irate customer whose steak was overdone, all while my mind remained fixed on Alexandra Winters and her peculiar offer. During my lunch break, I frantically texted Mrs. Gonzalez, our elderly neighbor who occasionally watched Lily, begging for her help until 10. Then I composed a list of ingredients that would showcase everything I could do with 5 courses. If this was my one shot at cooking again, really cooking, I wouldn't waste it. You seem distracted today, James, Mr. Donnelly commented as he counted the register. His perpetually disappointed expression suggested I'd already failed whatever test he was administering. Family matter, I replied vaguely, straightening menus that didn't need straightening. Don't let it affect your work. We're not a charity. I bit my tongue, thinking of the $10,000 waiting at the end of this strange day. Yes, sir. At 4:30, I changed in the employee bathroom, swapping my work clothes for the only decent outfit I owned, charcoal slacks and a navy button-down Eliza had given me for our last anniversary. It wasn't impressive, but it was clean. I used my phone camera to check my appearance, wishing I'd had time for a haircut. At precisely 5, my phone buzzed with a text, "Your ride is waiting." Not the Bentley this time, but a more discreet black Audi. The driver, a stoic man who introduced himself only as Paul, handed me a garment bag when I entered. Ms. Winters requested you change into this. Inside was a tailored suit that somehow looked exactly my size, charcoal grey with subtle blue undertones, a crisp white shirt, and a silver blue tie that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. There's been a mistake, I said. I'm just cooking dinner. Paul's expression remained neutral. Ms. Winters was explicit about her instructions. You may change at the residence. We drove north, leaving the city behind, climbing into the exclusive hills where Seattle's ultra-wealthy resided. The houses grew larger, the gates more imposing, until we turned onto a private road that wound through pristine forest for nearly a mile before opening onto a property that took my breath away. Alexandra's house was a modernist palace of glass and stone perched on a cliff overlooking Puget Sound. The setting sun transformed the windows into sheets of gold, making the structure appear to be floating between earth and sky. Paul escorted me inside, where a woman in her 50s with a severe bob introduced herself as Helen, the house manager. You're late, she stated, though we were exactly on time. Ms. Winters had to begin preparations herself. She led me through a labyrinth of minimalist luxury to a kitchen that would make professional chefs weep with envy. Alexandra stood at the center island, sleeves rolled up, hair now pulled into a casual knot, slicing vegetables with surprising skill. James, she smiled, setting down her knife. Right on schedule. Helen frowned. The guests arrive in 90 minutes. Which gives us plenty of time, Alexandra replied with a calm authority that immediately silenced her manager. James, I've taken the liberty of starting the prep based on your ingredient list. I hope you don't mind. I approached the counter, surveying what she'd done. Her knife work was impeccable, the mise en place meticulously organized. You cook, I said, unable to hide my surprise. One of my many secrets. Her smile turned conspiratorial. Now, Helen will show you where to change, and then we can finish this together. Change? I echoed. Ms. Winters, I'm confused. You hired me to cook dinner, not. Please, call me Alex. And yes, I did. But circumstances have evolved. Something flickered across her face, vulnerability, perhaps even fear. I need to explain something, and I need you not to walk out when I do. The suit in the garment bag suddenly made uncomfortable sense. What exactly am I walking into here? I asked. She took a deep breath. My parents are arriving from New York. For the past year, they've been pressuring me to settle down, start a family, traditional expectations I've been avoiding. 3 months ago, to end their matchmaking attempts, I fabricated a relationship. Understanding dawned. And your fictional boyfriend is conveniently unavailable tonight. Fiancé, actually. She twisted a ring on her finger I hadn't noticed before, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds. And no, he doesn't exist at all. I've been maintaining this fiction for months, but my parents unexpectedly decided to visit to meet him. I couldn't admit I'd been lying. I took a step back. So you researched struggling single fathers and decided I'd make a convincing stand-in. Pain flashed across her face. It wasn't like that. She was interrupted by Helen clearing her throat. Ms. Winters, I hate to interrupt, but if Mr. Carter is going to be presentable in time. Alex composed herself. Yes, of course. James, please change. We can discuss the details while we finish cooking. I haven't agreed to anything beyond preparing dinner, I said firmly. She nodded, her expression suddenly businesslike again. $20,000. For one evening of your time. And I promised to explain everything. The amount struck me silent. That was almost a year's worth of Lily's school tuition. Medical bills paid off. Maybe even a small cushion for emergencies. Fine, I finally said. But I want the full story. After changing into the suit, which fit as if it had been tailored specifically for me, I returned to the kitchen. Alex had changed as well, now wearing an elegant emerald dress that complemented her ring. You clean up well, she said, her eyes lingering a moment longer than necessary. For the next hour, we worked side by side preparing a menu I designed to impress: scallop crudo with citrus and fennel, mushroom consommé with truffle foam, butter-poached lobster with saffron risotto, dry-aged duck breast with cherry reduction, and a dark chocolate soufflé with salted caramel center. As we worked, Alex revealed fragments of her story. Her parents' old money expectations clashing with her self-made billions. Their disappointment when she chose technology over marriage. The pressure intensifying after her younger sister had twins last year. They mean well, she said, plating the scallops with delicate precision. But they don't understand that I've been too busy building my company to find someone. So you invented someone instead, I noted, adjusting the microgreens on each plate. It seemed simpler at the time. She glanced up at me. I researched you because I needed someone who could actually cook. The rest, your background, your situation, it just made you the perfect candidate. Before I could respond, Helen appeared at the doorway. They're here, she announced. Alex froze momentarily, then smoothed her dress and turned to me. Remember, we've been dating for 8 months, engaged for 2 weeks. We met at a charity event for children's education. You were catering, I was hosting. Alex, I don't think. Please, she whispered, and for the first time, I saw real fear behind her confidence. I'll explain everything after dinner, I promise. We walked through the house to the grand foyer, where an elegant older couple was handing their coats to a staff member. Alexandra's resemblance to her mother was striking, the same high cheekbones and amber eyes, while she had her father's determined jaw. "Alexandra, darling," her mother exclaimed, embracing her. "This house is even more spectacular than the photos." "Thanks, Mom." Alex accepted a kiss on the cheek from her father before taking a deep breath and reaching for my hand. Her fingers were ice cold as they intertwined with mine. "Mom, Dad, I'd like you to meet James Carter." She paused, squeezing my hand with surprising strength before delivering the words that would irrevocably change the course of the evening, and possibly both our lives. "This is my fiancé." The shock on her parents' faces might have been comical if I hadn't been equally blindsided. I'd agreed to play along with a relationship, yes, but the reality of standing there, being scrutinized by Evelyn and Richard Winters, whose combined net worth could probably purchase a small country, hit differently. Richard recovered first, extending his hand with practiced poise. "Well, this is certainly a pleasure, James. Alexandra has told us so little about you that I was beginning to wonder if you were imaginary." If only he knew how close to the truth he was. "The pleasure's mine, sir," I replied, channeling confidence I didn't feel. Alex wanted to make sure we were serious before making introductions. Evelyn stepped forward, her analytical gaze taking in every detail of my appearance. A sensible approach. Though I must say, your profession came as quite a surprise. The subtle emphasis told me everything I needed to know about Evelyn Winters' expectations for her daughter's partner. "Mom," Alex warned. I smiled, deciding in that moment to fully commit to this charade. $20,000, after all. "It's all right," I assured Alex, placing my hand on the small of her back. "I understand your parents' surprise. After all, not everyone can say they're marrying a billionaire tech genius." A tense silence followed, broken when Alex laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. "This is why I love him," she told her parents, looking at me with such convincing affection that for a moment, I almost believed it myself. "He keeps me grounded." What I didn't know then was that Alexandra Winters wasn't just hiding a fictional relationship from her parents. As dinner progressed and the facade deepened, I would discover that the woman beside me was harboring secrets far more dangerous than a little family deception, secrets that would put both of us, and possibly even my daughter, in grave danger before the night was through. Dinner progressed like an elaborate theatrical production, with Alex and I performing roles we'd had no time to rehearse. The kitchen, my natural habitat, became our stage as I presented each course with professional flair while she narrated fabricated stories of our courtship. "James made this exact mushroom consommé the night he proposed," she told her parents, the lie flowing effortlessly from her lips. "In our apartment, surrounded by candles." I played along, describing a romantic scene that had never happened while serving a soup I hadn't made in years. What surprised me most was how easily Alex anticipated my improvisations, building on them as if we truly shared these memories. "You should have seen his face when I said yes," she added, reaching for my hand across the table. "He was so shocked, as if there was any chance I'd say no." Her father, Richard, watched our interaction with analytical precision. A former hedge fund manager before semi-retirement, he possessed that particular talent of making you feel your worth was being calculated with every glance. "Tell me, James," he said between sips of an obscenely expensive wine, "how exactly does a restaurant manager plan to contribute to a partnership with someone of Alexandra's stature?" "Dad," Alex warned. "It's a fair question," Evelyn interjected. "Marriage is as much a financial merger as an emotional one." I set down my serving spoon, meeting Richard's gaze directly. "With respect, I disagree. My late wife and I had nothing when we started. We built a life together based on love and mutual respect, not financial statements." A heavy silence fell over the table. I'd forgotten, momentarily, that my fictional relationship with Alex wouldn't include my real past. Alex recovered smoothly. "James's first marriage ended tragically," she explained, her hand finding mine under the table. "His wife, Eliza, passed away from cancer 3 years ago. He's been raising their daughter alone since. The genuine compassion in her voice startled me. She'd stated these painful facts with such perfect empathy that for a moment, I almost believed she'd shared my grief. I'm sorry for your loss, Evelyn said, seemingly caught off guard by genuine emotion. Thank you, I replied quietly, unsure whether to be grateful or disturbed by how Alexandra had weaponized my tragedy to disarm her parents. Richard cleared his throat. You have a child, then? Lily, I nodded. She's 7. And you're comfortable with this? Richard directed his question to Alex. Becoming an instant mother. Alex's smile didn't waver. Lily is wonderful. Smart, creative, resilient, like her father. I fell in love with both of them. The conviction in her voice was unnervingly perfect. This woman had studied me as studied my daughter, with disturbing thoroughness. Well, Evelyn said, clearly trying to recalibrate her assessment, we look forward to meeting her someday. The dinner continued, tension gradually easing as the food seemed to work its magic. By the time I served the soufflés, Richard was sharing stories from Alex's childhood, a rebellious prodigy who built her first computer at 8 and hacked her private school's grading system at 12. Always 3 steps ahead, he said with grudging pride. Even when it got her into trouble. As we moved to the living room for coffee, my phone vibrated. A text from Mrs. Gonzalez, Lily has fever. 101.2, wants her daddy. My heart dropped. Excuse me, I said, stepping away to call immediately. She was fine at bedtime, Mrs. Gonzalez explained, but woke up crying 20 minutes ago. Now she's asking for you. I'll be there as soon as possible, I promised, ending the call and returning to find 3 sets of eyes on me. Everything all right? Alex asked with what appeared to be genuine concern. It's Lily. She's sick, fever. I need to go. I turned to her parents. I apologize for cutting the evening short. Of course, Evelyn nodded. Your child comes first. Alex stood immediately. I'll drive you. That's not necessary. I insist, she said firmly, then to her parents, I'm sure you understand. In the garage, Alex bypassed the Bentley and the Audi, instead unlocking a sleek Tesla. I'll drive myself, she explained, sliding into the driver's seat. Faster this way. As we accelerated down the private road, she spoke without taking her eyes off the winding path. I'm sorry about Lily. Is there anything I can do? You've done enough, I replied, my tone sharper than intended. The performance is over. You can drop the concerned fiancé act. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. That's not fair. Not fair? You researched my dead wife, my struggling finances, my child, all to use me in some elaborate deception for your parents. And now you want me to believe you actually care about Lily. She was silent for a long moment, navigating the car through the darkness with practiced precision. I didn't research you specifically, James. Not initially. What does that mean? She sighed. 6 months ago, my company launched a fellowship program for families affected by cancer, providing educational support for children who lost a parent. Lily was one of the applicants. I stared at her. What? Your application essay about how Lily used cooking as a way to connect with memories of her mother, it was beautiful. Her voice softened. I reviewed the applications personally. My mind raced. I vaguely remembered filling out some forms at Lily's school, a program the counselor had recommended. So you selected my daughter for a fellowship, then decided her father would make a convenient fake fiancé. No, Alex shook her head firmly. I selected Lily because she deserved it. Her connection to you had nothing to do with it. She paused. At least, not initially. Then what changed? She took a deep breath. 3 weeks ago, I received a threat. Someone claiming to have information that could destroy everything I've built. They demanded $20 million. Blackmail. I frowned. What information? That's just it, I don't know. My life has been under public scrutiny since I was 22. I've been careful. Her knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. But they knew things, private things. And they made it clear they were watching me, testing whether I'd comply. What does this have to do with me? They mentioned the fellowship program. Implied they might target the recipients if I didn't cooperate. Her voice dropped. Including Lily. Cold fear washed over me. Are you saying my daughter is in danger because of you? I'm saying I needed to buy time. Meeting my parents today wasn't just about appeasing them, it was about creating a public connection to you. How does that help? Because whoever is threatening me will think twice about harming someone publicly linked to me. The engagement announcement will be in tomorrow's society pages. Lily will be recognized as my future stepdaughter, protected by the same security that surrounds me. My head spun with this revelation. So this isn't just about your parents' expectations. You're using this fake engagement, as some kind of shield. I'm trying to protect both of you while I identify who's behind this, she insisted as we entered the city. My security team is close to tracing the threats. This is insane, I muttered. Pull over. James. Pull over now. She complied, guiding the Tesla to the curb. I flung open the door, desperate for fresh air, for space to think. My daughter was sick, possibly in danger, and I'd unwittingly entangled us with a billionaire being targeted by unknown enemies. Alex stepped out after me, her heels clicking on the pavement. James, please. I understand you're angry, but... Angry doesn't begin to cover it, I hissed. You should have told me before involving me in this mess. Would you have agreed if I had? The question hung between us, unanswerable because we both knew the truth. Of course I wouldn't have. I need to get to my daughter, I said finally. Let me take you, she pleaded. At least let me do that. I stared at her, this impossible woman who'd disrupted my carefully constructed life in the span of a single day. Despite everything, I couldn't deny the genuine concern in her eyes. Before I could respond, the sharp crack of gunfire split the night air. Alex's body slammed into mine, knocking us both to the ground as a bullet shattered the Tesla's window precisely where she'd been standing seconds before. Stay down, she commanded, her body shielding mine as another shot rang out. In that moment, sprawled on cold pavement with a billionaire protectively covering me, one horrifying thought consumed me. If someone was willing to shoot at Alexandra Winters on a public street, what might they do to a 7-year-old girl with a fever, guarded only by an elderly neighbor? And I wasn't there to protect her. Stay down! Alex hissed again, her body still protectively covering mine as glass from the shattered Tesla window rained down around us. Her composure was startling, not the panic of someone experiencing violence for the first time, but the focused alertness of someone trained for danger. In one fluid motion, she pulled a phone from her clutch and pressed a single button. Perimeter breach. Section 5. Armed. 2 shots fired. Her voice was steady, clinical. Who are you calling? I whispered, my heart hammering against my ribs. Security team. She peered cautiously over the hood of the car. They've been following us discreetly. You have a security team following us. The night's revelations were stacking up like a tower of increasingly unstable blocks. Of course I do. I'm worth $11 billion and being blackmailed. Her eyes met mine, fierce and urgent. James, we need to move. Lily. The mention of my daughter's name sent electric panic through my system. If someone was shooting at us on a public street, who might be at my apartment? With my sick child? A black SUV screeched around the corner, tires smoking on asphalt. 2 men in tactical gear emerged, moving toward us with practiced precision. Miss Winters, we need to go. Now. The taller one helped Alex to her feet while scanning rooftops and windows. Second team is pursuing the shooter. We need to get to James's apartment immediately, Alex commanded. His daughter may be targeted. Without waiting for my consent, they ushered us both into the armored vehicle. As we pulled away, I glimpsed two more identical SUVs converging on the scene. "How long have you had this level of security?" I asked, struggling to reconcile this paramilitary response with the woman who had so deftly sliced vegetables in her kitchen hours ago. "Since the threats escalated last week." Alex was already typing rapidly on a secure tablet. After they mentioned Lily specifically, cold fear gripped my spine. What exactly did they say about my daughter? Her fingers stilled. They sent a photo of her on the playground at school, with a message, "Even the innocent aren't safe from your secrets." The SUV swerved around a corner, its tires squealing as my stomach lurched from more than just the sudden motion. "And you didn't think to warn me?" My voice rose, trembling with rage and fear. "My daughter's safety isn't your bargaining chip, Alexandra." "That's why I arranged our public engagement," she countered, her eyes flashing. "To create a protective barrier around both of you without causing panic. By painting targets on our backs. By bringing you under my security umbrella." She leaned forward. "Connor, ETA. 3 minutes, replied the driver. I gave him my address, then turned back to Alex. "Why you? What secrets could possibly warrant this?" She held my gaze for a long moment before answering. "My company is finalizing a quantum encryption system that would render current digital security obsolete. Government contracts worth billions. Military applications." She swallowed. "And I recently discovered evidence suggesting someone very close to me has been selling proprietary information to foreign interests." "Someone close to you," I repeated. "Like who?" The SUV jolted to a stop outside my apartment building, a modest 5-story structure in a neighborhood that suddenly seemed impossibly vulnerable. "Someone I trusted completely," she said quietly, but before she could elaborate, we were moving again, her security team escorting us swiftly through the lobby and up the stairs rather than taking the elevator. My hand shook as I fumbled with my keys. The door finally swung open to reveal Mrs. Gonzalez standing in our small living room, her eyes wide with alarm at the armed men flanking us. "James, what's happening?" she gasped. "Where's Lily?" I demanded, pushing past her toward my daughter's bedroom. "Sleeping. The fever broke about 20 minutes ago, but..." I barely heard her as I rushed to Lily's room, Alex close behind me. My daughter lay curled on her side, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest, dark curls damp with sweat against her forehead. The rise and fall of her chest, steady, untroubled, was the most beautiful sight I'd ever seen. I knelt beside her bed, brushing hair from her warm face. She stirred slightly, eyes fluttering open. "Daddy." Her voice was sleep-rough and confused. "You're home early." "Hey, sweetheart." I struggled to keep my voice even. "How are you feeling?" "Better," she murmured, then noticed Alex hovering in the doorway. "Who's that lady?" Alex stepped forward, her designer dress absurdly out of place in my daughter's small bedroom with its glow-in-the-dark stars and hand-me-down furniture. "I'm Alex," she said softly. "I'm a friend of your dad's." Lily's fever-bright eyes studied her with that penetrating curiosity only children possess. "You're pretty. Are you why Daddy got all dressed up?" Despite everything, the gunshots still echoing in my ears, the fear still coursing through my veins, I found myself fighting a smile at my daughter's directness. "Yes, she is," I admitted. "But now I need you to do something for me, okay? We're going to play a game." "A game?" Lily sat up, suddenly more alert. "It's called Emergency Sleepover." I kept my tone light as I pulled her small suitcase from under the bed, the one we kept packed for hospital visits during Eliza's illness. "We're going to go stay somewhere special tonight." "Because of my fever?" "Partly." I began adding a few more items to the suitcase. "And partly because Alex has invited us to her house. She has a swimming pool." Lily's eyes widened. "Inside." "Inside," Alex confirmed, stepping seamlessly into our improvisation. "And a room with the best view in Seattle." You can see the whole city lit up at night." While Lily was distracted with excitement, Alex pulled me aside. "My security chief has cleared the building. No signs of surveillance or intrusion, but they're not comfortable with the exposed entry points. My home has a secure perimeter and full medical facilities if her fever returns." I studied her face, searching for ulterior motives and finding only genuine concern. "Why are you doing this?" "Really?" "Because I put you in danger," she answered simply. "And because I refuse to let an innocent child suffer for my mistakes." 20 minutes later, we were speeding north again in the armored SUV, Lily dozing against my shoulder, wrapped in her favorite blanket. Mrs. Gonzalez had been escorted home by security personnel who would remain stationed at her door throughout the night, a precaution that seemed to both alarm and flatter the elderly woman. "My chief of security thinks the shooter was sent as a warning, not to kill," Alex said quietly, her voice pitched below Lily's hearing. "If they'd wanted us dead, they would have used a different approach." "That's supposed to be comforting." "It's supposed to be informative." She glanced at Lily's sleeping form. "They're escalating pressure, not eliminating problems." "What happens next?" I asked, automatically tightening my arm around my daughter. "We stay secure tonight. Tomorrow morning, I have a meeting with someone who might help identify the source of the threats." Her expression hardened. "And you need to decide how much more involved you want to be." "I think that decision was made for me when bullets started flying." "No." She shook her head firmly. "I can arrange for you and Lily to be transported to a secure location, another country if necessary, with new identities and enough money to start over comfortably." The offer stunned me. "You do that?" "In a heartbeat. Your involvement was my choice, not yours." Her gaze dropped to Lily. "She deserves a safe life, free from my complications." Something in her voice, a note of loneliness perhaps, caught me off guard. For the first time, I saw beyond the billionaire facade to the woman beneath, powerful yet isolated, calculating yet caring in her own complex way. "What about you?" I found myself asking. A sad smile touched her lips. "I'll handle it. I always do." As we passed through the gates of her estate, the house now illuminated like a modernist fortress against the night sky, I realized I'd crossed a threshold beyond the merely physical. In less than 24 hours, Alexandra Winters had upended my carefully controlled life, exposed my daughter and me to danger, and yet, impossibly, I found myself concerned for her welfare. "The guest suite is prepared," Helen announced as we entered, her earlier frostiness replaced with brisk efficiency in the face of crisis. "Dr. Mitchell is standing by if the child needs attention." "Thank you, Helen." Alex's hand brushed mine as she took Lily's suitcase. "I'll show them up myself." The guest suite was larger than our entire apartment, with a main bedroom featuring floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sound, an adjoining room for Lily with a canopied bed that made her gasp with delight when she groggily took it in, and a marble bathroom that could have comfortably fit our kitchen inside it. After settling Lily, checking her temperature, normal, and promising adventures for tomorrow, I closed her door softly and found Alex waiting in the sitting area, her heels discarded, a glass of amber liquid in her hand and another waiting on the table. "Scotch," she explained. 30-year Macallan. If ever a night called for it, this one does. I accepted the glass but remained standing. "I need the full truth, Alex. No more strategic omissions." She nodded, gesturing for me to join her on the sofa. When I did, she turned to face me fully. 6 months ago, I ended a relationship with my chief technology officer, Daniel Hayes. It wasn't public knowledge, we kept it private to avoid corporate gossip. The breakup was difficult. He didn't take it well. She took a sip of scotch. 2 months later, I discovered inconsistencies in our development servers. Targeted probes. Leaked specs. You think he's behind the blackmail? I don't know. The evidence is circumstantial, and he's brilliant enough to cover his tracks. Her fingers tightened around her glass. What I do know is that whoever is threatening me has intimate knowledge of both my personal and professional lives. And tonight's shooter. Likely a hired messenger. She set her glass down, pinching the bridge of her nose. The meeting tomorrow is with a former intelligence operative who specializes in corporate espionage. If Daniel is involved, he'll find proof. I absorbed this, the pieces slowly assembling into a coherent, if disturbing, picture. And your parents? Was any of that real? A rueful smile crossed her face. All of it, actually. They genuinely have been pressuring me to settle down, and I genuinely did invent a fictional fiancé to appease them. She glanced at me. Though I hadn't planned to accelerate the timeline until the threats against Lily surfaced. The complexity of her motives, part strategic calculation, part protective instinct, left me uncertain how to respond. Before I could formulate an answer, a soft alarm chimed from her phone. Perimeter alert, she explained, rising swiftly. Probably just wildlife triggering the sensors, but... The bedroom door burst open and Lily stood there, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy," she sobbed. "I had a bad dream. Mom was calling for me, but I couldn't find her." My heart fractured as I gathered her into my arms, her small body trembling against mine. Over her head, my eyes met Alex's, and in that moment of shared witness to my daughter's grief, something shifted between us, a recognition of vulnerability that transcended the danger surrounding us. "Let me make her some hot chocolate," Alex offered softly, a simple kindness that somehow meant more than all her expensive gestures. As she moved toward the kitchenette, a deafening explosion shook the house, glass shattering, alarms blaring, lights failing as darkness engulfed us. Lily screamed, clinging to me as I instinctively shielded her with my body. Through the chaos, Alex's voice cut through, unnervingly calm. "James, get down! They're here!" The world fragmented into chaos, alarms shrieking, emergency lights casting blood-red shadows across shattered glass, Lily's terrified sobs against my chest. Alex moved with startling efficiency, pulling us behind a marble kitchen island seconds before gunfire peppered the wall where we'd been standing. "Security breach, northeast quadrant," she spoke into a concealed comm device, her voice steady despite the violence erupting around us. "Hostiles inside the main house." A man's voice crackled back, "Extraction team for minutes out." "Secure position." Lily trembled violently in my arms, her small fingers digging into my shoulders. "Daddy, I'm scared," she whimpered. "I know, sweetheart," I whispered, trying to keep my voice calm while terror coursed through my veins. "But I've got you. I promise." Alex crawled to a panel hidden beneath the kitchen counter, punching in a code that caused a section of flooring to slide away, revealing a narrow staircase. "Panic room," she explained tersely. "Get Lily inside." More gunfire erupted from the hallway. Whoever had breached the house was getting closer. "What about you?" I demanded, already knowing I wouldn't like her answer. "I need to access the security terminal in my office. It's the only way to lock down the entire system." Her eyes, fierce and determined, met mine. "James, please. Take Lily to safety." "Alex. I'll be right behind you." She pressed a small pistol into my hand. 30 seconds, then seal the door. The panel inside will show you how." Before I could protest further, she was moving, a shadow darting between furniture, heading toward the far exit. My chest constricted with a fear that wasn't entirely for Lily and myself. "Come on, sweetheart," I murmured, lifting my daughter and descending the stairs rapidly. The panic room below was a steel-reinforced chamber with monitors displaying security feeds from throughout the property. I watched in horror as black-clad figures moved systematically through the house, their weapons raised. "Seal door," commanded a computerized voice. 30 seconds to automatic lockdown. "No," I growled, my eyes fixed on a monitor showing Alex slipping into her office, 2 armed men close behind her. "Override lockdown. Authorization required." A keypad illuminated beside the monitor. Without Alex's code, we were trapped here, safe, but unable to help her. "Daddy." Lily's voice quavered. "Where's Alex? Is she coming?" I stared at the monitor, watching Alex frantically working at her computer, seemingly unaware of the danger closing in. The men approaching her office weren't random mercenaries, their movements were too coordinated, too familiar with the house layout. 20 seconds to automatic lockdown, intoned the computer. A figure appeared on another monitor, someone entering through what appeared to be a private entrance to Alex's office. Not dressed in tactical gear like the others, but in an expensive suit. A man whose face I recognized from framed photos I glimpsed in Alex's home. Daniel Hayes. Her ex. The potential traitor. As he entered the office behind Alex, I saw his hand raised, not with a gun, but something else. A syringe. 10 seconds to automatic lockdown. A desperate plan formed in my mind. I turned to Lily, kneeling to her eye level. "Sweetie, I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that?" She nodded, eyes wide with fear and trust. "I have to help Alex. You need to stay here where it's safe." I pointed to a small cot in the corner. "Hide under those blankets and don't come out until you hear my voice or Alex's voice. No one else's. Promise me." 5 seconds to automatic lockdown. "Promise me, Lily." "I promise," she whispered. I kissed her forehead and placed her in the corner, covering her with blankets. "I love you more than anything in this world." 2 seconds to automatic lockdown. I lunged for the stairs, rolling through the narrowing gap as the reinforced door sealed behind me with a pneumatic hiss. The pistol felt foreign in my hand as I navigated the darkened house, guided by mental images of the security feeds. The path to Alex's office required crossing an exposed hallway. I took a deep breath, remembering everything at stake, and ran, expecting bullets at any moment. None came. The intruders' focus had shifted entirely to their primary target. Outside Alex's office, I paused, hearing voices through the partially open door. "Should have taken the offer, Alex." Daniel's voice, smooth and controlled. 20 million is nothing compared to what they're paying me now. "You're betraying your country," Alex replied, her voice tight with what might have been pain. The encryption system was meant to protect people, not expose them. Always so idealistic. A pause, then the sound of typing. "The transfer is complete. All your research, all your prototypes, now property of my employers." Why the elaborate blackmail? Why not just steal it directly? Alex asked, clearly stalling. "Because I needed your private keys, which only activate with your biometric signature under normal stress levels." His tone turned smug. Hence the theatrical threats, the escalating pressure. All to ensure you'd be at your terminal, under sufficient stress to activate without suspicion, but not so panicked the system would lock down. I peered around the edge of the door. Alex was seated at her computer, Daniel standing behind her with the syringe now empty, discarded on the desk. Whatever he'd injected her with hadn't knocked her unconscious, but she seemed unable to move properly, her movement sluggish. "The Fellowship kids? Lily?" Alex's voice hardened. "They were innocent." "Collateral motivation," he replied dismissively. "I knew threatening a child would drive you to access the secure servers. Your predictable compassion, your need to protect, it made manipulating you so easy." 2 armed men stood by the door, their attention focused on Alex and Daniel, backs partially to me. I had perhaps one chance, and no real experience with firearms beyond a safety course Eliza had insisted we take years ago. "The shooter tonight?" Alex asked. A convincing performance, wasn't it? Bullets carefully aimed to miss. Daniel laughed softly. "Though if you'd refused to cooperate, the next ones wouldn't have." I couldn't wait any longer. Alex's eyes flickered to the doorway, she'd seen me. A nearly imperceptible shake of her head warned me back, but there was no time. The decision I made next wasn't calculated or strategic. It was instinctive, the same instinct that had driven me to protect Lily all these years, now extending to this woman who had crashed into our lives less than 24 hours ago. I stepped into the doorway, the gun raised. "Get away from her." The guard spun, weapons lifting. Daniel's eyes widened in genuine surprise. The chef? Seriously? Security override Alpha 6 Tango, Alex called out suddenly, her voice stronger than it had been moments before. Lock down all terminals. The office plunged into darkness before emergency lighting activated, a dim blue glow that cast everyone in ghostly relief. Simultaneously, metal shutters slammed down over doors and windows throughout the house with deafening finality. What have you done? Daniel snarled, grabbing Alex by the throat. Initiated, complete system, purge, she gasped between constricted breaths. Everything, deleting, right now. The distraction was all I needed. I slammed into the first guard with desperate strength, sending us both crashing into a bookshelf. His weapon discharged wildly, the bullet splintering within inches from my head. The second guard turned to fire at me, but in the dim light, his aim faltered. What followed was chaos, a desperate struggle in semi-darkness. I was outmatched in every way except motivation. I fought with the raw ferocity of a parent who had promised to return to his child, a man who refused to let another woman die when he could prevent it. A gunshot deafened me temporarily. Heat seared across my upper arm, a bullet graze. I barely felt it. Somehow, I managed to disarm one guard, using the heavy base of a desk lamp as a makeshift weapon. The second was tackled by Alex herself, who, despite whatever drug coursed through her system, launched herself at him with calculated precision. Only Daniel remained, backing toward a hidden panel in the wall, an escape route. It's over, Daniel, Alex called out, her voice stronger now. The authorities have been automatically notified. The building is sealed. You think I came without contingencies? He smiled coldly, producing a small detonator from his pocket. Either you unseal the building, or we all die. Your choice, Alexandra. Time slowed. In Daniel's eyes, I saw not just betrayal but something worse, the empty calculation of a man who viewed human lives as variables in an equation. I'd seen that look before, in the oncologist's eyes when he told us Eliza's cancer had returned, terminal this time. The dispassionate assessment of acceptable losses. What happened next would later be pieced together from security footage and testimony. Daniel's thumb moved toward the detonator trigger. I lunged forward without conscious thought. Alex shouted something I couldn't hear through the adrenaline roaring in my ears. We collided, Daniel and I, his finger pressing the button as we fell. I braced for explosion, for fire, for end. Instead, sprinklers activated throughout the house, drenching us in cold water. Fake detonator, Alex explained later, after security forces had finally breached the lockdown, after Daniel and his accomplices were in custody, after I'd retrieved a trembling Lily from the panic room and held her until we both stopped shaking. Connected to my security system. I suspected he might try something like that, so I had the circuits modified weeks ago. We sat in the kitchen of her ruined mansion as dawn broke over the sound, federal agents moving efficiently through the debris. Lily had finally fallen asleep against my shoulder, emotionally exhausted. You knew, I said quietly, realization dawning. You suspected Daniel all along. Alex nodded, wincing as a medic cleaned a cut on her forehead. I needed proof. And I needed to catch him in the act of data transfer to identify his foreign contacts. So tonight, all of it, was a trap you set. Anger flared briefly. You used me and Lily as bait. No, she said firmly. The dinner with my parents was genuine. The threats against fellowship families, including Lily, were real. I accelerated my plan when those threats emerged. Her eyes met mine, unwavering. I would never knowingly endanger a child, James. Never. I studied her face, the vulnerability beneath the strategic brilliance, the genuine remorse shadowing her exhaustion. What was in the syringe? I asked. A paralytic that should have rendered me helpless. He didn't know about my built-up immunity. The ghost of a smile touched her lips. Another contingency. You've thought of everything. Not everything. Her gaze dropped to Lily's sleeping form. I never considered how it would feel to put someone else's child at risk. Or how it would feel to watch you walk into that office, willing to die for a woman you barely know. Something shifted between us then, a recognition deeper than words could express. We'd moved beyond deception and strategy into something raw and honest. "Why did you do it?" she asked softly. "You could have stayed safe in the panic room with Lily." I considered my answer carefully, surprising myself with its truth. "Because in 24 hours, you showed more concern for my daughter than most people have in 3 years. Because you were willing to sacrifice everything to protect strangers." Because? I hesitated, because somehow, I couldn't bear the thought of losing you too. The silence that followed held more meaning than any elaborate declaration could have. 3 months later, Lily and I still lived in our apartment, though significant improvements had been made to both the building's security and our financial situation. The Winters Fellowship for Resilient Children had been expanded, with Lily serving as its unofficial ambassador. My new restaurant, a small but ambitious venture focusing on accessible fine dining, was preparing for its grand opening, funded by an anonymous investor whose identity fooled absolutely no one. Alex had testified before a closed congressional committee about Daniel's espionage and the vulnerability he'd attempted to exploit. Her company's quantum encryption system was now being implemented with proper oversight, her reputation not just restored but enhanced by her role in exposing the threat. Her parents had been surprisingly understanding about the broken engagement once the truth emerged, though Evelyn still occasionally made pointed comments about how Lily deserved a proper family. What none of them knew, not yet, was that Alex had taken to having dinner with us 3 nights a week. That she helped Lily with science projects and taught her coding basics. That she sometimes fell asleep on our couch during movie nights, her brilliant mind finally at rest. They didn't know about the quiet conversations that stretched into early morning, where we gradually revealed ourselves to each other, not the billionaire and the widower, but simply Alex and James, 2 people healing from different wounds. They certainly didn't know about the kiss we'd shared last week, after Lily had gone to bed, tentative at first, then deepening with the urgency of those who understand how quickly life can change, how precious genuine connection truly is. Standing in my new kitchen, preparing a test menu while Lily and Alex argued playfully about the restaurant's logo design at a nearby table, I realized something that both terrified and exhilarated me. The family I'd fought so desperately to protect after Eliza's death was growing, changing in ways I never could have anticipated. "Daddy, Alex says I can't put a swimming pool in a logo," Lily complained, her curls bouncing with indignation. "It's not thematically consistent," Alex explained with mock seriousness, though her eyes danced with amusement. "A restaurant logo should suggest the cuisine, not random amenities. But your house has a swimming pool, and that's the best part." "Is it?" Alex glanced at me, a silent question in her eyes. I set down my knife, moving to join them at the table. My hand found Alex's, our fingers intertwining with the easy familiarity that still surprised me daily. "The best part," I said quietly, "is finding home in unexpected places." Alex's breath caught, her composure briefly faltering. Lily, with a child's intuition, reached across the table to place her small hand atop our joined ones. "We should invite Alex's parents to the restaurant opening," she announced decisively. "They could see that we're a real family now, even without the fancy ring." Alex and I exchanged glances, startled, amused, and profoundly moved by the simple truth my daughter had articulated. There had been no grand proposal, no orchestrated deception, no strategic alliance, just the slow, authentic growth of something neither of us had been looking for. Sometimes the most valuable things in life arrive disguised as complications. Sometimes a single dinner invitation changes everything. And sometimes, when you least expect it, the heart rebuilds itself around new possibilities. Not because of billions, bullets, or blackmail. But because of breakfast conversations and homework help. Because of shared grief and unexpected laughter. Because of the courage to begin again. We were not a fairy tale romance, a billionaire and a chef, thrown together by extraordinary circumstances. We were something far more precious, 2 imperfect people discovering that sometimes, the most unexpected connections are the ones that save us. "A real family," Alex repeated softly, her eyes suspiciously bright. "I think I'd like that very much." Outside, Seattle's perpetual rain had finally paused, sunlight breaking through clouds to cast golden light across the three of us, not quite what any of us had planned, but somehow exactly what we all needed. Some deceptions, it seems, lead to unexpected truths. And some dinners change lives forever. Thank you for following James, Alex, and Lily's journey from unexpected deception to genuine connection. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe for more and share your thoughts in the comments. What was your favorite part of their journey? Did you suspect Daniel from the beginning? I'd love to hear from you.